Good morning from a very windy Brussels this Saturday morning. I'm back in my favourite square as I often start some of my videos. Apologies, there's probably quite a bit of wind noise this morning. It's a windy morning, but lots of us have got up early today. We've cleared the square, as you can see, because we're protesting. It's time to take some action. The other markets in Brussels are allowed to open, and this one isn't. And I don't have any real economic interest in the market. I just, live nearby. But it's very important to reopen this market. It's in English we would say it's kind of the heart of this district. In French we say c'est le poumon. It's the real lungs. What makes this district so vibrant? What helps it to breathe? And that's why today we're going to be making our voices heard. We've gathered a few of us, socially distanced of course. We're going to do a slow cycle ride down to the old market square. You see some people have prepared these very elaborate signs, very nice, with messages on. As you can see, it's a pretty miserable day here in Brussels. It's really rainy, so you really have to admire the dedication of the participants today to come out and protest, especially early in the morning. It's 10 o'clock here. Maybe before we get carried away, I can give you a little bit of context about why we're doing this. Well, other markets around Brussels, around the area, have been allowed to open, and I've walked past some of them. I very rarely actually walk through some. They're still very busy. And then there's our market, which when it was open in the middle of last year, when we were allowed to do these things despite the pandemic, there was a very good one-way system. Everything was well controlled. The market is completely open air, which is why it's really incomprehensible why the old market has not been allowed to reopen, whilst other markets, considered, I guess, more economically important to the city, have been allowed to open. And what makes me very sad is seeing the economic hardship that this is placing on this area of the city. You see lots of empty buildings. You hear of the brocanteurs, the people who are selling their second-hand. But they want to get back out there and work, not only economically but for their mental health as well. For a lot of people, this is their only way of making a living in the district. And reopening the market, it doesn't make sense not to reopen this market. So that's why I'm joining the protest today. We're heading back towards our own district now. We're getting a bit of support from the locals. You can see people here, they're still very aware of the pandemic. They're walking around, they're wearing their masks. But at the same time, people need to live. And that's why we want this market reopened. It was safe before. We don't understand why it's been closed. And why it's still not allowed to open. I mean, we understand why it was closed. But we don't understand why it's not been allowed to reopen along with the other markets around in Brussels and the other cities in Belgium. And I just wanted to join this. They're calling it an escargot de cyclistes, snail of cyclists. I wanted to join in solidarity with the people affected most directly by this refusal to open the old market back up. When I first moved into my apartment, I loved that from the apartment I could hear the hustle and bustle of the market outside my window during the day whilst I was working. Like I said earlier, it really is the lungs of this part of the city. And now without that, it's just this, you've seen the square just with all the vans and how empty it is. And it feels empty as well. But at least today we're bringing back a little bit of colour. I feel a tiny little bit out of place with my swab feet whilst everybody has these kind of old vintage bicycles, which I'm sure they look after themselves very nice. Maybe I should trade in my swab feet for a nice old bicycle fitting more with the local environment. Pots and pans emergency. Well, you can see we've got these pots and pans to make noise with. I brought one of mine with me and a spoon as well to make a lot of noise with. You can hear we've got a loudspeaker as well. It speaks very loud. You can see the police are on their way, I guess, to the protest to make sure we all respect the social distancing and all of that kind of thing. This is actually a pretty cool square. I really like this cafe over there. You can see it's takeaway only at the moment. And here is Stalingrad then. Just the next little part of town over from Marol. You can see they have like these shops in the centre made from old containers. And the people participating, they're not just, you know, typical locals from Marol. So I've not only heard French and French this morning. I've not heard any Dutch, curiously, but I've heard Italian and Spanish as well. Which really represents the local yet international flavour of this part of the city. It's really nice living in this part of the city where people come together, they care about their neighbours. It's not something I experienced before in Brussels. I've had a wooden spoon emergency.
Les casserolades, il y en a pour le moment depuis une semaine, tous les jours ici à midi, pour demander le retour du Vieux Marché. Donc n'hésitez pas à venir tous les jours à midi avec vos casseroles.
Bon voilà, je suis natif du quartier ici. Il y a 161 ans, je suis né ici. Enfin, pas ici, hein, à Saint-Pierre. Ma famille est née ici déjà depuis plusieurs générations. Donc voilà, le marché comme ça, je ne l'ai jamais connu. C'est vraiment une catastrophe. Même pendant la guerre ici, la deuxième guerre, c'était noir de monde. Le marché, la rue des Radis, les rues tout autour, j'ai pas connu. Il y a des photos qui prouvent ça quoi en fait. Moi ce que je vois ici, je vois des camionnettes là, des marchands, des orecas qui sont fermés. On ne sait même plus boire un café, une soupe, une pinche ou qu'est-ce que tu veux. Rien. C'est honteux. Moi je vois ces camionnettes là, moi j'ai l'impression de presque être dans un cimetière. Et ces camionnettes sont des tombes. Vous trouvez pas ça vous? Que c'est mort? Ce quartier est mort ici. Ça devient mort, c'est pas possible.
It's been raining quite a bit, but the protest continues. There's been a lot of speeches. It's getting a bit cold now, so I think it's time to go and get some food. Why not? I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna try one of the famous sausages from Charlotte's Sandwich Shop. These are a must in the market. Here you go, you can see du boudin. Le marché revient boudin. It's this kind of typical Brussels sausage, which we can try here. So you got sausages with bacon and sauerkraut. Do a chili con carne as well. I'm going to try one of these white boudin, I think. So it's been fun joining the protest this morning. They're still banging the pots and pans outside, but I decided it was getting a bit cold and I wanted to, it's getting to lunchtime now. I can't stand out there banging my pot and pan all day. And well, I also did the cycling and not everybody did that. So I feel like I've contributed and showed my solidarity for the day. So now I'm going to enjoy my boudin. There you go. From the Charlotte Sandwich Shop, very nice, with a nice Belgian beer. I'm having a Grimberg, and even though it's in a Hapkin glass. Although events like this, they bring people together, you know, there's a lot of solidarity, a lot of good feeling during these moments. What's very important is that afterwards something actually happens. And it's very sad hearing about how people are affected by this situation that we find ourselves in, and how certain sectors of society are prioritised over others. And absolutely delicious, highly recommended from Charlotte on Place de Jus de Balle. Very nice. I've got mine with onion and mustard. It's boudin blanc. Fried onions are delicious. Ketchup, mustard. You know, nice and standard sauces, but perfect. A bit of crusty bread. And the sausage, it's a very meaty sausage. You can tell it's not like packed out with crap. Much better than McDonald's or something like that. And I get to support a local business as well. So fantastic. Highly recommended. Go check it out. One thing I really resonated with was this old chap. He sat down and he stood up and he started speaking Dutch and French, which was very nice. People usually use just one or the other, but he used both. And he was just telling us about how he's grown up in this part of the town. He's from this part of Merol, this part of Brussels. He's lived here his entire life, over 60 years. And he's never seen the market like this. He said how it's now like a ghost town. I think he said it's like a cemetery. It's like the city's dying, and we really need to inject a bit of life back into it, I guess. And inject, maybe we want a better metaphor than that with the vaccines and everything. But yeah. Conclusion for the day: there's absolutely no reason why we shouldn't be reopening this market when other markets around Brussels are open. And this market was actually, of all the markets I saw in Brussels when it was open, last open back in October, I think it was, this market actually had the best measures for dealing with the current pandemic situation of any market I had seen in the whole of Belgium. So yeah, go figure. And something else quickly worth mentioning as well is that today is the 13th of March, which marks exactly 1 year to the day since we were sent home from work and told not to come back on Monday. Since society really closed down, since the lockdowns and the restrictions really began. And these restrictions 1 year later, they're still very much affecting people's lives. And obviously there's a health situation going on right now, and I think most of us are fully aware of that. But there's also an economic crisis, a cultural crisis, as we've seen today as well. Many forgotten groups, many people left behind by not only by the crisis itself, by the health crisis, but by the by various governments around the world's reactions to those crises. And whilst I don't want to get too political at all on this channel, it's important to point these things out. And if you can order from a local business or whoever during this tough time, why not? I mean, Amazon or these big companies, whoever at really, you know, cashing in on this time, it's very easy to just order something online from these people. But if you can support your local businesses, if you can get out there and just buy something that you usually would buy from a big company, and you can get it from a smaller company, even if it costs, you know, a couple of euro more or whatever, please do go and do it, because these are the people who are really suffering through this tough pandemic.